we should really have been wearing our orange kit tonight. Obviously, this is the worst possible place to be wearing our orange away kit. So maybe I'll just take the Dundee United players. I'd forgotten, or it kind of completely passed me by, that Dundee United are wearing black stripes these days on the tangerine. Sometimes you just see what you want to see, Michael Stewart. But I was trying to think of how to describe Jaden Magoma's goal, easily the best goal of the four scored tonight. And it's more just the way they shot, the way it kind of lifted and only slightly off the grass and just kind of cruised, floated endlessly into the back of that net. And something, I have to be honest, what came to mind, I know this was going to sound, what this is going to sound like, but it's just something in the, I think, late 80s, early 90s. It's just that kind of age starting to think, is there something more to life? And there was a lot of stuff about the Impressionists at that time in various Sunday supplements, the kind of wanky papers and that I'd started reading. And I ended up cutting out a picture from a magazine of a painting, a picture of a painting, unbelievably famous painting. It's Impression Soleil Levant. It's Impression Sunset. Monet, Claude Monet. And he painted it in 1872, and it's this the sunrise. It's impression of a sunrise, and the sun's like a little orange ball. I know tonight's ball wasn't orange. And it's rising over Le Havre. Well, my French is terrible, as you've noticed. Le Havre Harbour, the harbour of Le Havre, his hometown. It was painted in 1872, same year we were formed. And oil on canvas, of course. It's impressionist. It's oil on canvas, and it's the little splodges of orange on the water, on the grey, on the blue, grey blue of the water of the harbour in Le Havre. These little splodges of orange off into the horizon. Coming from the sun. It's the sun casting its early morning rays on the dull but blue water, and that's just what it was like. It was that thing. It kind of went off to the horizon. That shot. It seemed even, but rising, changing, but still just travelling seamlessly, artistically along this refreshingly revivication, just going right along this plane in the same direction, but still disappearing off into the sunrise, if not the sunset. It was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful shot. And Le Havre, the harbour at Le Havre, Le Havre are the oldest league football team in France, and they were formed, I think, the 1890s, but they came from an existing rugby club, a rugby union club in Le Havre, who were formed in 1872. Same year, Monet painted that painting in the same town, and the same year Rangers were formed, and Rangers were named after a rugby club as well. And the nickname, one of the nicknames for Le Havre is, again, excuse the French, les cils et marine, les cils et marine, the sky and navy, because their colours are sky blue and navy blue. The sky and navy. It's just like the sky and the navy, boats, ships, harbours, the sky. It's the sun's rising. It just, again, it makes me think of that painting. And Rangers, of course, formed in 1872, just given our character by men who built ships in harbours, and that was all I could think about tonight when that ball went into the back. And how am I going to describe this goal? How am I going to? And I thought, well, I'm also simultaneously trying to bore people to make sure ambulance chasing Celtic fans and that are totally bored and don't want to listen to my podcast and just leave it to us poor suffering Rangers supporters. But so maybe that'll do the business. Or maybe I should tell you the fact that the only thing I really painted, I was never much of a painter. I did it, in primary school, and I did I think it was a drawing I did that got on the cover of the Sports Day programme. We did a wee programme for Sports Day in Primary 1 or Primary 2, and I did somebody in the egg and spoon race, crossing the line with the egg on the spoon, and that, I think the dramatic way that I pitched that, that won the day, and that basically sums me up. I didn't win anything at the Sports Day, but I managed to get my kind of wanky wee picture on the front of the kind of staples and printed off programme that we printed for that. But I did a bit of painting, obviously, in art class and that at primary school, and then I was in secondary school. I did art for the first 2 years, and I remember Mr. Bannatyne, my guidance teacher, who I think was it chemistry he taught, and saying, I want to take, I'd quite like to take art into like third and fourth year, because that's the stuff, and was saying, art's not going to get an apprenticeship, son, that's fine. Which was just at the exact same time that apprenticeships were completely drying up anyway, so I could probably have been one of the new generation of Glasgow boys or something like that if it had been for Mr. Bannatyne, but I didn't believe in it, obviously. But the thing that I did paint more than anything else was toy soldiers. When I got to my kind of about 12, I think I tried it a bit when I was younger, painting the soldiers, Airfix, the 00HO scale, soldiers, the wee soldiers, and then there was the 1:32 scale, the big soldiers. I did paint. I got better and better at it, but it's a bit of money buying all the paints and all that. And I never really got into wargaming around, which was the point of. By the time I was getting to that age, I should be doing Dungeons and Dragons and wargaming and all that. I wasn't that, but I ended up. That's when the football was taking over, and music, and eventually alcohol, and stuff like that. But I did go through a wee phase from 10 to about 14 or whatever when I was painting. I was trying to paint, so I would make model airplanes and all that as well. Or Second World. I was very much into the Second World War. But I did do the kind of Waterloo, it was French Grenadiers, and there was various British regiments. The Prussians were really good. They had good colours. I did try painting all that, but mostly I had these massive Airfix collections of like Russian infantry, and they were in grey. Now, this is the thing I'm trying to say. They actually arrived in the packets, if you remember, the Airfix soldiers. You could get 00HO scale, the wee soldiers, or the 1:32 scale, they were the big soldiers. They were colloquially known as. But they did have a colour to them. They came in a pack, and they all had they're self-coloured. And it was the problem was their faces were the same colours as their uniforms, were the same colours as their boots, were the same colours as their guns, or whatever it was they were holding. It was up to you to go and paint it all. But it was quite. I was thinking last night, was the good guys were on green. That kind of upset me being a Rangers supporter. They're good because it was the Gurkhas. You get the Airfix, you get the wee Gurkhas. They were in green. The Commandos, British Commandos, were in green. The US paratroopers. I think you get US Marines as well. Definitely US paratroopers, US Marines, British paratroopers, British infantry. All the Second World War stuff. They were in green, and the Germans, they were on blue. And it was the German infantry. I loved my German infantry and German paratroopers. They were in blue. Then I was like, no. And I think the Alpine division, the German Alpine division, were they a kind of lighter blue, maybe Prussian blue? I don't know, as opposed to the navy blue of the German paratroopers and infantry. But I think they were definitely a kind of lighter blue. But then I realised the Desert Rats, the 8th Army, they were the same colour as the Africa Corps, and they were a kind of sandy colour, a kind of sandy. I mean, you go and you can paint their faces skin colour. You would get the wee tins. I was at Hummel paints, and I think you got Airfix paints as well, didn't they? Wee tiny tins, and you get a wee tiny brush on it. You could paint their faces flesh coloured, but that then meant you didn't have to paint their uniforms. No, that was just quite involved. But I think the Japanese, you get Japanese infantry. I think they were yellow. So I think that was all, which is a bit in the racist side. But it wasn't long since the end of the war. People were still bitter, I suppose. I remember my cousins, the Donnakeys. I remember going to theirs house, and my cousin Ian Paul. I think he had a packet of these kind of British. I think Waterloo was a Scottish regiment. I think they might have fought at Waterloo. It been the kind of Napoleonic Wars range of stuff. And they'd like kilts and that, and the bagpipes and the big furry hat thing. They were great. That was quite. I was like, oh, that's pretty impressive. I kept it Second World War, but I remember him having a pack of them. I think they might have been grey. They had they all had their own colours. Really, I'm trying to think of other. So you get Anzac troops as well, didn't you? I saw a thing. There's videos there's on YouTube. It's a big thing, the Airfix stuff. And certainly, I occasionally watch this fella who's still got all the packets of soldiers that I used to have when I was younger, until my mum and dad decided to give them to my cousin, my wee cousin, just because he was 10 years old, and I wasn't even 40, I wasn't even 40 at the time. But I mean, I know it was only social propriety. It was every time I visited Mum and Dad, it was only kind of social convention that stopped me just firing up the loft and cracking open the boxes and just starting a second front, Operation Barbarossa. Let's attack the Soviet Union. But they took that as meaning that I wanted to give them away, my packets of soldiers. But you can, sometimes the stuff that's really entertaining at one end, can be painful when you're giving it away at the other end. I'll be bored because I'm getting bored. I just want to get this out of the way. This is, yeah. How you doing, folks? This is your Fatek immediate post from the somnambulant sluggishness of Sunday to the kinetically, coruscatingly kamikaze of crazy Tayside Wednesday. 1 point follows another. Do you see how I've used alliteration there in lieu of actual verbal dexterity to create a facsimile of both entertainment and effect? Well, if I can do it, why can't Rangers just get it fucking forward? Well, they did tonight. Are you happy with that, Alec? Reaction pod. Are you not entertained? It's sponsored by Jersnet, live on the Jersnet YouTube channel every Friday, 9 p.m, every Sunday, 9:30 p.m. Sponsored by Jersnet, I am, and Airfix, obviously sponsored by Airfix. My name's Alec Anderson. Each day through my window, I watch her as she passes by. I say to myself, you're such a lucky guy. To have a girl like her is truly a dream come true. Out of all the fellas in the world, she belongs to you. But it was just my imagination running away with me. Oh, it was just my imagination running away with me. Hey, my name's Alec Anderson. That was the Temptations there with the most beautiful song about stalking ever recorded. Eddie Kendrick's kind of falsetto voice just confuses you, makes you think this is a lovely gentle song. Yeah, it's stalking, basically. It's about stalking. But I'd like to take the imagination aspect of that song there and run with it in much the same way our players ran with the ball against Falkirk on Sunday. That is to no discernible point or effect. And say one of the main reasons we love sport, our sport being football, is that it lets you see imagination in action. Talking of that, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to read for you from the opening chapter of my new book entitled A Fat Middle-Aged Northern European Man from a Very Small Village, nevertheless in his role as a detective for the village police, encounters on a weekly basis various global conspiracies, be it nuclear weapon trafficking, people trafficking, drug trafficking, and it has a amazingly complicated personal life and family life. He's also got mild to serious health problems brought on by the fact that he consumes too much alcohol and fatty food despite his advancing years. But this is because of the kind of dichotomy, the ongoing drama within him, and that he has an insatiable desire to expose the truth in all of the crimes that he's investigating, and yet is amazingly clandestine, furtive, and taciturn when it comes to the truth of his own supremely complicated love life. Lander. And this is chapter 1, and it's called Football. One of the main reasons we love sport, as I say, our sport being football, is it lets you see imagination in action. It lets you see it, should I say, in the raw, at the very moment of its conception and or arrival. We read books, watch movies, see architecture which displays fantastic imagination, but the moment of inspiration from which these works are created is, by the time we view the results, long gone, and was probably never visible or even audible at the second or seconds of its arrival. In the library, at the cinema, or craning your neck in the city centre to see that new building, what you're experiencing is the crafted, honed, refined, endlessly polished rendering of a mental spark which took place years previously and probably in front of no one. None of our strikers scored in all of November, the entire month of November. 6 games across 2 different competitions. Tav is still our top scorer. That spark that spark of imagination, occurred in a head of a human sat at a desk, or perhaps stood in the shower, or in a railway train station platform, or sat at the football watching Rangers versus Falkirk, or just as they drifted off to sleep, as they were perhaps from a fevered dream awakened, from which they sat upright and reached maniacally for the bedside notepad and biro. The partner lying next to them may have been the only other soul to have any inkling that a moment of inspiration was taking place. Sometimes Hemingway would just get up out of bed at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, resigned to the fact that he had to get it all typed up before he forgot it. Imagination is a curse. Inspiration as an inevitable pain in the arse. If only we've scored the fewest league goals of any of the top 6 teams, 2 fewer than Dundee United in 8th place. But even a quickened clacking of the keyboard or a more intense sketching motion on the drawing board is witnessed by only a husband, a wife, a kid, a few office colleagues tops, and the entire point of that imaginative deluge is still a long, long way from realisation. With the football, from conception to delivery, it's all one explosive, if often graceful, moment of simultaneous actualisation. A writer whose name I forget, guesting as a critic on a TV arts magazine show whose name I forget, once talked about the 2009 film Creation, a biopic not so much of Charles Darwin, played by Paul Bettany, as of Darwin conceiving the origin of species. So it's a film title working on several levels: imagination, inspiration, creating a book about creation, which of course creates the new reality of a world where Christianity's been disproven, so it's destroying a belief system while mapping the process of life's creation. Great stuff. But as the said female writer critic said on said TV programme, the problem with films about writing books is when the dramatic high point of the film is the writing of a book, you're really struggling to make it entertaining. And we've all seen plenty of these movies with the same montage, just like Paul Bettany in Creation. It's in a study with close-ups of the writer's face, bent intensely over his page of work, by daylight, by candlelight, close-ups of the nib being dipped in the inkwell furiously, despondently, sloppily, pounding the typewriter, then triumphantly casting off another gem of a genius page, eagerly replaced with another sheet of, as our hero is on a roll, or lots of balls of paper scrunched from abortive attempts to find the mot juste, to find that creative rhythm, usually a wastepaper basket close-up showing the collected paper carcasses of bad idea after bad idea. The sweat dripping from brow to spectacles, a cat or dog or iguana being kicked as the would-be author paces up and down their study, searching for inspiration, trying to ignite that imagination. It's making the viewer do all the work. It's hardly the opening scenes of Saving Private Ryan or the bank, scene, the bank robbery and the shootout from Michael Mann's 1995 LA crime saga Heat. As that writer, critic, novelist lady said on that arts magazine programme, writers mostly were just sat at a desk drinking tea and typing. This is why we love sport, to see the imagination of our on-field creatives at the very moment of imaginative inspiration hitting. Because the scenario is ever-changing, and it's how they adapt to overcome which decides between success and failure, and their creation, if it's to be a success, must happen in the same nanosecond, must be conceived, constructed, polished, and presented in one singular movement in front of thousands in the stadium and perhaps millions also watching on TV. Yeah, none of our strikers have scored in 6 games. I think I'll just go and read the Middlemarch again. Yeah, I composed that chapter Thank you. Now, I composed that chapter just straight after the game against Falkirk on Sunday. I'm going to quickly read you chapter 2. Don't worry, it's quite short. I composed this just before I switched on the camera here, and it's called Wednesday, and it goes like this. Ah! No! No! Yes! Yes! Stop! Please! Calm it down. What is the point of creative, imaginative inspiration if you don't know how to write, type, or draw? You have to produce something. You have to finish it off. None of our strikers have scored in 7 games, and now we don't know how to keep clean sheets either. Yeah, folks, how you doing? My name's Alec Anderson. White riot, I want to riot. White riot, I'll riot on my own. White riot, I want to riot. White riot, I'll riot on my own. And I'm talking to you after Rangers have drawn 2-2 with Dundee United for the second time this season in the league, following upon us drawing with Falkirk in the league for the second time this season. I hope this at least means that we're guaranteed to beat Kilmarnock for the second time this season in our next league outing, which we'll have to, seeing as we're now 9 points behind both Celtic and Hearts. Up at the top end of the table, we maintain in 4th. White Sox, blue shorts, kind of England 1978 top. The blue shorts with the flashes at the back is we've seen the players from behind that look like kind of Moscow Dynamo. We flashed like kind of Moscow Dynamo, almost like the trim. Knows a lot of my mucker Colin Armstrong from Jersnet. He's got his own blog. If you go into his Twitter page, Colin's Twitter page, and he's done I think he's done a blog article about Moscow Dynamo's 1945 visit to Ibrox, and Rangers TV have put out a visit. But I saw they're doing a film about it. I've only seen the kind of intro to that, but there's a wee flash at the bottom, the blue shorts we're wearing tonight. I thought, I don't like it when we wear white socks, but I think it's okay when we wear a white top and that England 1978 top, which has been reprised by the England ladies team during the summer there when they won the Euros for the second time in a row. The starting 11, it was not a good night to have your name beginning with an A. The 3 changes from Sunday's game against Falkirk, Asgard and Aarons were dropped, and Ant-Man is injured, but I think he would have been dropped anyway. So Jaden Magoma comes back in at left back. He started at left back. Danilo is starting at 10 instead of Asgard, and JD Gasma starts on the right hand side again. I would prefer him to be on the left so he can get good shots of it, but he was one of our more influential players, it would turn out. None of the major kind of predictions that I made in my preview pod came to pass, except perhaps that Bajrami, Nadeem Bajrami, started again, second game in a row after starting, I think, zilch times previously this season, and of course being left out the European squad, our Albanian international. I think we can call him Mercurial now after his performance tonight, even if that is major news. Same central defence. That's big news, I suppose. Same central defence with Manny Fernandez and Nasser Giga not inspiring the most confidence in the continuing absence of John Souttar and Derek Cornelius. No Dujon Sterling as I was predicted. On the bench, and Big Chermiti was back in the squad on the bench after illness. He'd passed some sort of late illness test to get himself on the bench. But yeah, the first 5 minutes, Dundee United had about 3 corners. We looked shaky. At the end of the third corner, however, we broke with kind of pace, grace and purpose to win our own first corner, and that was the maniacal nature of the game, almost set in stone, if you can set a maniacal nature in stone. But that's not working out at all. The kind of 5th to the 12th minute, we dominated with it, really threatening to score a goal. But Raskin puts in, it was his name, Sapsford, the Australian fella. He put him into the holdings around about the 8th minute, and 3 or 4 minutes later, that same boy outstrips Manny Fernandez from his own half. A run kind of started in his own half, I think. A ball put over the top by Stevenson of Dundee United, their right winger, Jaden Magoma. I put the G into winger there, didn't I? probably because I'm hitting Jaden Magoma. He goes up there and he doesn't come anywhere near hitting Stevenson. Can he block? Can he get to the ball before him? Can he block the ball that Stevenson plays down the right wing from United's point of view, left wing from our point of view, and Manny Fernandez is unable to track or foul Sapsford as he just basically runs free as a bird on into our box. At one point, Fernandez does this thing where he thinks he may accidentally foul him. So he just puts his hands out. He's like, I'm not fouling him, ref, but just basically holds up his run to let the guy go and clear into our box. Neither Nasser Jiga nor James Tavernier are covering at the back post as Sapsford dinks over an ineffectual advance from Jack Butland, and the ball just bounces into our net. Two very high lines both teams are playing where we're just looking exposed, particularly exposed on the left-hand side already. So we're only 12 minutes into the game and we're a goal down. We're out of sorts for about a minute after that, allowing Dundee United another kind of clear header. They win, whoever it is wins the header in our box for them should do better with it. But we get back into kind of dominating possession, and we do dominate. I think we end up with 67% possession in this game. But we're winning corner after corner, basically until half time. In the 17th minute though, Majowski times a run into almost, into the 6-yard box. He just got to the end of the 6-yard box and he times a run perfectly, and he runs in between two Dundee United defenders, and it's a absolute peach of a ball from Bajrami. It's a classic poacher's chance, but not a classic poacher's finish. But in the 23rd minute, Jaden Magoma, what a goal. It's an absolute perler. It's a Tav free kick out in the kind of the right-hand side, which he floats, and he hits it with some sort of pace towards the 6-yard box. We don't really have any takers, but the United goalkeeper, by a bit, you think he has got time to catch it. He punches it. They're having problems in the goalkeeping position just now, Dundee United, so he punches the ball up high and out, and it drops down to Connor Barron, who's about 22, 25 yards out, and he volleys it first time. He's in the kind of right-hand side of the D, and he volleys it first time, Connor, before the ball even hits the deck, hits a United defender. The United defender gets a block in there to stop Connor Barron scoring with what would be a ridiculously good volley. So the ball spins up and away over to the left-hand side of the D and much further out than that. And Jaden Magoma runs onto it, touches the ball from 40 yards out, takes a touch to kind of push the ball to the kind of 30, 35-yard mark. And then he hits through it with his left foot, but he gets over it enough and he gets the arm up there, Tav penalty style, to keep it as down as a shot of that speed and distance can be kept down. By the time the ball takes kind of lift off, it gets a bit of air under it, it's kissing the inside of the right-hand side of the netting, the inside netting. It glides, it sails. It's a work of art, at least. That's my impression. 27th minute, Connor Barron should score as Gassama. It's one each, by the way, one each at this point. Connor Barron should score as Gassama turns his man inside out on the right hand side, pulls it across for Connor. It's teed up perfectly at the edge of the box, but he runs onto it and lashes it over the bar. He can't keep it down. It's a difficult thing to do. 29th minute, Tav is done a couple of times on the right hand side by Fata. He can't catch him. Butland needs two chances to save the kind of tight angled shot, and this is this is like the half-hour mark right up to half-time, and it carries on into the second half, where we are massively defensively wobbly. Despite dominating possession, we're getting caught out all the time for it. I mean, like on the half-hour mark, Emi Fernandez gets dispossessed in the Dundee United half. I was bigging up the big guy. I was bigging up Fernandez in my preview pods, and maybe shouldn't have bothered. He had a nightmare, but he also a couple of positive moments. 31st minute, Tav slags the shit out of Gassama. He's a right go at JD Gassama because he hasn't tracked the wide run from Ferry. You can see in the replay Tav saying, "You watch him, he's yours. You've got to track back with your man." And he doesn't. Gassama basically doesn't track his man. So Tav's got to go to him. He just manages to block him at the edge of the box for a Dundee United corner, and turns around and gives Gassama a bollock and kind of Late in the 34th minute, United are in behind us again, far too easily. In the 35th minute, Fatah should score. He's invited to shoot down kind of Butland's throat from the edge of the box. To Giga and Fernandez just kind of going, just down here, we'll just shoot it. And he does, but thankfully it's kind of poorly, very tamely. But Fatah, Amor Fati, 39th minute, Magoma and Fernandez almost exposed again. Out in the left by a cross-field ball to a runner. Jim Goodwin, the Dundee United manager, has obviously seen where we're weak, and he'll know a bit about Fernandez and Magoma, obviously, and he's just told Dundee United to hit those areas the second they get the ball within punting range. The 40th minute, the big Fernandez can't clear a long throw into our box, which is almost kind of straight onto his feet. He can't seem to get any purchase on the ball at all, but we don't concede any more goals. Neither do we score any more. No changes at half time, but the second half starts exactly the same. It's mad, end to end, more chaos than finesse. But hey, we're all so bored on Sunday, but we're all so bored by what happened against Falkirk at Ibrox. 48th minute, Danilo off the bar. Bajrami wearing his number 14, the Cruyff number. He shoots with his right. From the left edge of the box, his right foot. That chance nearly scored at the back post against Falkirk in the first half. Same kind of stuff against here, but the goalie punches it up in the air. Danilo goes in there and challenges him. He can't get rid of it, the goalie, and it kind of comes off Danilo's head almost and just bounces in front of Danilo, who's got his back to the goal, so it's kind of heading out towards the edge of the 6-yard box. And our Brazilian striker channels not Scott McTominay in a World Cup qualifier, but Leonidas da Silva in the 1938 World Cup finals, his compatriot, who, if he didn't actually invent the overhead kick, the bicycle kick, he certainly popularised it. But Danny hits the handlebar of the bike. He hits the handlebar, the handle. I can't work that. He hits the bar. And it's spectacular and all that, but it's no a go. In the follow up, there's a kind of clash of heads. Bad head knock for Majowski. Blood everywhere-ish. He needs a new shirt on. He's got the big, huge bandage on his head. I think it sums up the physical effort the players are putting in tonight. Bajrami, Majowski and Danilo, they look like a bunch of old guys who'd embarrass you at the fives, but we're not playing fives, so it's only when they get runners to help them that it works for us. They need Barron and Raskin to push up, which happens, just maybe not enough. Majowski, strange game. He's coming deep a lot. I don't know if in the second half he maybe switches. He was the striker. He was a striker in his own. With Barron and Raskin as a sitting two in midfield, Tav at right back, Magoma at left back, Jack Butland in goals, and Gassama on the right hand side, Bajrami on the left hand side. And Danilo was playing this 10 role because he was out on the left hand side, I think, against 4-2-3-1. We played against Braga, and Danilo was out on the left hand side of the front three behind the one. But he's directly behind the one playing the 10 role instead of Asgard the night, Majowski. But I don't know if in the second half him and Majowski swapped, or Majowski was just feeling he had to come back to try and get involved. He was certainly trying to make a contribution anyway. But at this point in time, we're controlling it again with the intermittent Dundee United breaks. 60th minute, Gassama has a shot blocked. I think he piles into the right hand side Dundee United box. And in the 62nd minute, Nico Raskin's got the ball of the century, the pass of the century to Gassama at the back post, who has the intelligence gas to make the run despite running out of pitch. There's very little pitch left by the time he's going to contact the ball, but he knows to keep going, and that's where it's going to be found by Nico Raskin. A great ball, and Gas has the intelligence to make that run. And he almost Gerd Mullers it into the far corner. The goalkeeper comes out and is right on top of him, because it is 6-yard box stuff, over to the right-hand side of the goal as we're looking at it. So what Gas is doing, and it must be, it looks relatively difficult watching it on television. In reality, you just got a goalkeeper right on top of you, and he's got the forethought to know, well, that means that goal, the left-hand side of the goal is totally open. So he's basically hitting it square, side-footing the ball to get it away from the goalie, hoping that the general momentum will let the ball kind of curve in, and it just comes off. It comes off the far post. And the two of them are up like flashes. Credit to the goalkeeper, he's up like a flash. So's Gas, and he has a shot. Just turns, just wheels round and shoots, but the goalkeeper's got there and he's blocked it at the near post. Gas, amazingly, this is a rebound that should go straight out for a by kick, but he gets to that as well, and he fires it straight back to Danilo. He pulls it back from the byline to Danilo, who is about 3 or 4 yards out, but Danilo needs to apply visible craft to any goal he scores. He's the last striker to score for Rangers, and it was at the end of October against Hibs at Easter Road, and that goal was, I mean, he controls it and turns and all that, and he dinks it over somebody and through somebody else before it creeps into the far corner. This just a tap in for 3-4 yards out. The goalie's kind of on top of him, but he just lets it hit off his leg. Did Gassama pull it back too quickly? I don't know. He should be ready though. His positioning should be better. I feel that was on Danilo, and we pay the price in about the 65th minute when it's a goal for Dundee United. Worse than him trying to make out Stevenson should have been booked for booting the advancing Emi Fernandez. I think this is the worst moment for Michael fucking Stewart. He immediately tries to tell us that Fata's goal was better than Magoma's. There's been some great goals tonight. This is definitely the best one. Shut up. I mean, to be fair, he did say that in the build-up to the incident that led to the corner that from which United eventually scored this goal, that United player was offside. Oh, he's offside, but I think it was more with a kind of the rage you have at the team you're wanting to win. Oh, you're offside. Why are you offside? And the guy wasn't as offside as Danny Röhl would later say he was. He wasn't 2 metres offside or whatever it was. Danny Röhl was saying he would be inches offside if anything. There was somebody over on the far side that was kind of. But even then, it's Charlie Mulgrew, ex-Celtic and Aberdeen, is no lover of Rangers, is saying, it's tight, you can't tell, and I know why Danny Röhl is saying he was a couple of yards or a couple of metres offside. I know the difference between a couple of yards and a couple of metres. I'm just trying to remember if Danny Röhl's doing the Imperial or he's still sticking with the German. Elfmeter. But, even when, he's wrong, basically, we can't tell if it was offside. Charlie Mulgrew's maintaining that you can see why Danny Röhl thinks the fellow was offside in the build-up to this corner that leads to the goal. Whereas Michael Stewart's just refusing to have anything that would maybe benefit Rangers. Even the suggestion that they maybe been hard done to, never mind the fact that a guy hitting the ball on the volley from 40 yards out into the net is the best goal of the night. It was terrible from our point of view, though. This ball gets swung into the box, and I think a few of our defenders are trying to protest for offside. It kind of switched off a wee bit, and Waters is allowed about 20 chances to get a shot off as he's lying prone in our box, and he still gets up and manages to turn and get another shot in. And it goes out for a corner. In this corner, we all go to the front post. So 5 Dundee United players are at the back post. They put the ball to the back post. The corner goes to the back post, where we've got like one player. Nevertheless, all they managed to do is nod it towards the front post. Somebody goes in there, and I think it's Waters again, gets a point-blank header in which Jack Butland does great to save. It then kind of bounces about our box, and we can't quite clear it. Everybody's getting a touch on it. Rangers players getting a touch on it, but no able to get it up the park. No able to get it to a colleague, just constantly giving it back to Dundee United. And it gets worked at the left-hand side, and eventually Fata, Bajrami tries to pull him down, but he runs past across a couple of Rangers players. I'm not trying to begrudge the guy his goal. He's done well. It's a shot from the edge of the box, goes into the bottom corner, but we're kind of saying, put it in there, son. When you go, put it in there. Ala Fata, Amor, Fatty, all our pressure is kind of counting for nothing. With defending like that, this allied to poor finishing, we need pressure to keep the ball away from our box. Though, that's the whole thing. Oh, we can't finish. What's the point of attacking? Because we need to attack to get the ball away from our box. Because our defence sometimes is every bit as bad as our attack. 70th minute, Gassama's booked for dive, and Michael Stewart immediately starts trying to get Scottish football to hound him out, a la Morelos. What a see you next Tuesday, 75th minute. I'm just getting obsessed. It's that I'm just trying to render how much of a bad, petty mood I was in. There was times Michael Stewart was sticking up for Rangers, but he absolutely wet himself. He's giving when when Fata scores, and yet not a peep from him when Jaden Magoma bangs in one of the goals of the season in the first half. But I remember at the 75th minute, he almost kind of chokes himself to death as the ball hits Fernandes in the box, hits Fernandes' hand in the box as it kind of comes down from the air. His campaign doesn't work. There's no VAR, aren't even looking at it. VAR? Why aren't VAR even looking at it? Jim Goodwin, the fucking Dundee United manager, isn't even bothered. He's like, I don't think it was a penalty. You know, we've gone backwards really in terms of pressure in the game. It's mostly United now for this little spell since they've scored. So 77th minute, big call. Tav and Nico brackets and Danilo are subbed off. Danny Röhl's kind of putting himself on the line here. Max Aarons comes on to play it right back. Diomande, Nico's mate, comes on for the midfield berth, and Connor Barron stays on the park. Youssef Chermiti, he comes on for Danilo. So he's come on as a striker. So Majowski must have switched to the kind of 10 role. Putting himself in the line here as far as maybe some of the players are concerned. Danny Röhl, I don't think we need more energy. That was apparent at this point in the game. I thought in my preview pod, I said that I thought he might rest either Raskin or Tav. They might start on the bench, one of the two. They're seen as the big characters in the dressing room. They're seen as our on-field leaders at this point in time. But instead, he started them both, and he's taken them both off with what is basically going to turn out to be 20 minutes to go, and us trailing in the game. So it's quite a major thing, and it works. It works to the extent that obviously try to win the game, but it works to the extent that we don't lose the game. A couple of minutes later, United miss an easy kind of header / bicycle kick from a corner. It's two players that go in. One's trying to do a bicycle kick, one's trying to do a backwards header, but they're totally unchallenged. They just block each other. United essentially do defend Rangers' goal better than Rangers defenders can. They block out each other with Jack Butland's completely exposed, but Asgard comes on at some point. I think it's around about the 90th minute for Majowski. I didn't even notice it at that point. But, oh my God, 84th minute. Big Youssef Chermiti. I hope this is the nadir. I hope this is the moment from which, because he's not actually had that many bad misses in front of goal. He's not had many Van Vossens. Youssef Chermiti. It's just been he's failed generally to get as involved as he should. Anytime he's played for us, but this was just awful. I mean, Bajrami's embarrassing Dundee United players a few times in this game, but at this point, his beautiful ball into the 6-yard box, but the edge of the 6-yard box, right in the middle of the goals, right on Chermiti's head. Just shut your eyes and fall forward. Just shut your eyes and fall forward, and you'll put it in the back of the net. He's in between two defenders and all that, and big Fernandes, bit of a cheek, but he's in there, and he's basically the minute Youssef Chermiti, does he connect with it? I think he glances off his hair, but somehow he doesn't. He manages to put it past the post. It's almost an unmissable header, and big Fernandes is just stood above him, bewailing him. How did you miss that? He's basically saying to the only other person in the team who's anywhere near as big as him, Big Emmy. Finlay Curtis scores that. Finlay Curtis scores that from the bench probably. So it's time, I think, to get Finlay Curtis on there. 6 yards out, clear header for a guy his height. Just shut your eyes and fall over. 6 minutes of injury time, and as that's announced, Kilmarnock equalise at Tynecastle. It's got to be us. It's got to be us who stops these bastards. Yet we are more than a fucking threat to ourselves than we are to Celtic. And that's where things get interesting. Injury time is just Dundee United's trying to clear their lines. They're winning the game. They're getting the ball. They still threaten to break on us, but it becomes they're getting pushed further and further back. Rangers are pressuring them. The new energy on the field has worked. The triple substitution, which becomes a quadruple substitution by the 90th minute. And there's a kind of head tennis bit where we're just heading the ball, constantly heading the ball forward there, heading it back, but it's almost like we're advancing up the park as we head this kind of head tennis thing. But you need to just keep punting it up the park, back into our half more and more desperately until Connor Barron, it's the clock's ticking down. We're into it's 95, 50 odds. Connor Barron 95, 40 odds. Connor Barron on the right hand side of the centre circle launches this great ball to generally to the the back post area. Big Emi Fernandez has been told to get up front by the head coach. So up he goes, and he gets to the ball. He gets his head to the ball, but there's a United centre half either side of him, so he can only kind of glance the ball backwards. JD Gassama does not. He's played the full game. He's trying. He tries like hell. And JD Gassama, at the very point of the pitch where Tav had to concede that corner and immediately started berating Gassama for not covering Ferry, as the Will Ferry, the Dundee United runner. That's the very point where JD Gassama, redemption, catharsis. He heads the ball back. He gets there and he heads the ball backwards to about the edge of the 6-yard box. And big Asgard, finally, using his build, using his physique, he just leans into the Dundee United. He leans back into the Dundee United defender who's getting there before him. But that means that his clearance isn't got the purchase on it that he would like, the United defender, so the ball kind of bounces in front of the penalty spot. It's heading towards the edge of the box. Will Ferry's going to get there, but Max Aarons comes bombing in from the blind side and just anticipates and judges it to perfection, and is caught, is clipped, goes down. Penalty to Rangers, and it's I think it's 95 minutes and 52 seconds that the penalty is awarded. And Michael Stewart, just for somebody to talk about, is absolutely hilarious. I don't know if it can't believe VAR. It's telling VAR not to give it. VAR aren't even looking at it. They aren't even looking at it because I think the commentating team, they get VAR in their ears. I think he's hoping he can kind of tell them to have a look at it and disallow it. I mean, okay, the officials are giving it, and Will Ferry, who conceded the penalty, isn't protesting, which he wasn't. But maybe I'm just looking at something else. Maybe I'm just looking at something else here. I can't see how that's a penalty. He kicks through the ball. He kicks through him or something. I don't know how he kicked through somebody without fouling them. He actually made the foul sound worse than it really was. It's just that thing of, he's got there first, and he goes down. Maybe it's a bit of a dive by Aarons to embellish it, but Aarons seems to be writhing about in a bit of pain as well. Maybe that was performative. You never know these days, but yeah, you certainly are seeing something else. Michael, a big kind of huge Union Jack coloured pixelation which goes off in your retina anytime Rangers do well. Jim Goodwin, the fucking Dundee United manager, he started his career at Celtic, a Republic of Ireland international. If he's never beaten Rangers in a league game. If anybody's going to be pissed off about this, it's going to be Jim Goodwin. He was an absolute gentleman in the post match, the press or the post match interview on Premier Sport. He was just saying, I thought the referee had a good game. I know he's maybe toning it down because they've complained to the SFA about the penalty that was awarded against him at Rugby Park on Saturday, but he said, I thought the referee had a good game. I thought it was a penalty for Rangers, and I didn't think it was a penalty for us when Fernandez handles the ball in the box. I say Charlie Mulgrew, Celtic and Aberdeen, player, he's saying exactly the same stuff. But Michael Stewart, who used to play for Rangers at some level, he's utterly raging. It was quite insane. But Conor Bannon, it was a lovely ball, and he's clipped him, he's winged him. It's soft. No, it's a penalty. It's absolutely a penalty. And up steps Nadim Bajrami. We just realised at this point in time we win the penalty, and oh Christ, Tav's not on the park. I mean, Tav missed one against Livingston. Remember to pitch 2-0 up against Livingston. And Max Aarons bailed him out that day as well. So it was a big moment for Nadim Bajrami. He goes to the right-hand side and the ball kind of kisses the inside net. And again on the right-hand side, the same as the goal we scored up at the other end in the first half. But this one, it takes the rigging off the net, that lifts up that kind of plastic thing that goes along the back instead of pegs these days to hold the net in place. The plastic thing at the back of the net's at the bottom of the net, and there up it goes. He hits it with such force. It's a beautifully taken, beautifully put away penalty considering the pressure, and also I think it's extra pressure when it's not going to win you the game. It's just going to salvage the game. I need to thank Big Phil. Big Phil is a stalwart of Rangers social media and has gets in touch a few times quite regularly. Always great to hear from him. Always get really interesting stuff to say in the comments section under these pissy podcasts of mine under these videos of mine, and he was saying the day, amazingly, we haven't lost away in the league in the calendar year 2025. I'd forgotten about that. I'd forgotten about that since Ian Crocker reminded me of it during the Skies commentary for the Hibs game when we beat Hibs at Easter Road the last time. A striker scored for Rangers, and I was like, Christ, that's right, neither we have, because we've drawn so many games away from home, and we've lost games at home in the league. It's just any time we just drop 2 points is a bit of a tragedy. But you're thinking, God, we're even going to lose that record tonight. I predicted in the preview pod, typical cowardly kind of hedge sitting fence hedging, bet hedging, fence sitting garbage from myself. I was saying we're either going to get beat 2-0, and it's the nadir again for Danny Röhl, the worst part of his route before he starts building us back up again, or it's we're going to win 4-0. A spate of brilliant attacking football, all a reaction to the negativity around the boringness of the draw with Falkirk on Sunday. So we did concede 2 goals, and there was 4 goals in the game, and we attacked like crazy. I think we'd like 30 odd shots on goal. We'd far more shots on goal than United, more shots on target than United. 67% possession. I think we'd 9 corners to their 8. So I was kind of right in both senses. 4 goals in the game. Rangers did lose 2 goals, and there was all sorts of attacking chaos, but we've got the point, and right in that last minute it was also very consoling to know that we're devastating Michael Stewart and every tosser singing Merry Christmas, fuck the Huns for the last half hour at Tannadice, and maintaining that 2025 unbeaten away record in the league. Up for grabs again on Saturday night though. But Charlie Mulgrew was saying straight after the game, I couldn't get up. I should have come and done the post-match reaction pod straight away, but I just couldn't get off the sofa after that. It's quite a confusing feeling. You've been gutted for most of the game, despite Rangers being really entertaining in the middle aspect of their play, and just, Charlie Mulgrew said Rangers look soft in both boxes, and he's right. That's why I couldn't get off the sofa. That's why I was sitting listening to that patter before I come through here to record this diatribe, folks. But yeah, we're really soft in both boxes. The ferry, the ferry, Will Ferry, he was late, and I'm from Ardrossan, so I know all about the devastating effect of ferries being late. I think he's staying Broughty Ferry, Will Ferry. That's just a joke in the guy's name. That's no original anyway. But that's no nice either. So Charlie Mulgrew is absolutely right. We can't finish, and we can't clear our lines. We can't put the ball over the line. This is why I think Danny Röhl's doing such a great job to keep us unbeaten in the SPFL Premiership. 6 games now. We've only won 4 of them, but we've drawn another 2. This is why I didn't think, like so many others, that our players weren't trying on Sunday. I thought there was plenty of effort on Sunday. It's worse than a lack of effort, and we saw it tonight. They just can't do it. They have to try like hell just to get a point, because they're not very good technically. I don't want to say rubbish. I don't want to say garbage. I don't want to say that, but because they might, some of these guys, new arrivals, young players, all football players are young men anyway, really, when you get to my age. But a lot of them a long way from home, and I think a few of them could be seriously traumatised by the start of this season. No protests. Like, they're at a big club because they're like, oh my God, what would it like to play well, to win things with a big club, and there's like 50,000 folk chanting your name and all that. They hadn't really factored in what's it going to be like at a big club when 50,000 folk hate our manager and hate the people who've employed him and are throwing things on the park to get the game held up and stuff like that. It could be ongoing trauma. But I think a lot of these guys just don't have the technical ability. So the fact that they fought till the last minute tonight, the last seconds of injury time, Fernandez, he had a bit of a mare, Big Emmy, but he's up there involved. Without him, we don't get the second goal. We don't get that penalty. And they fought like hell, injury time and beyond, despite some really terrible misses in front of goal, hitting the woodwork twice and all that, and 100 defensive errors, which would break lesser teams' spirits. And they've encountered the big kind of over-effort thing from teams below them. Falkirk have been playing well against everybody. They beat Dundee United 3-0 at Tannadice. They've been doing well this season, Falkirk. And it's, if teams want to give more effort against us than do against anybody else, that's absolutely fine. Do you know what I mean? That's just that's up to them. That's something we have to deal with. So they got that from Dundee United. Were maniacal tonight. They were really going for it. They gave it everything. And that's what made it such a great game for the neutral. But who's neutral? As soon as I said, just let's get through to January with minimum damage, so we can get some Danny Röhl signings in, we've been leaking points like a sieve. Hearts have dropped the same amount as us in the last 2 games, but Celtic have gained 4 points on us in the last 4 days by continuing to score 1 goal more than their opponent each time. There's a lot to be said for boring. Aye, so we're 9 points behind both Hearts and Celtic. Sometimes all you're creating is different ways to make an arse of yourself. Sometimes your Jogo Bonito imaginings get in the way of you just side footing in from 4 yards out. We're slowly overhauling Hibs. They're kind of going by the wayside now, and we're now pulling Motherwell in. It's only goal difference between us and third place. Celtic, with a new manager, will meet Hearts on Sunday. So we win at Rugby Park on Saturday night against a Kilmarnock side who also salvaged a late point tonight, and will gain 2 points on both leaders or 3 points on one of them. There goes my imagination again. How boring. You don't need to be able to read, write, or type to paint oil on canvas. You don't even need imagination. You just need to honestly render what you have inside you. Not everyone needs to like it or agree with it, but it can still be immensely, inarguably captivating. I'll talk to you in Friday Trips. Cheers, thanks.